Hi everyone, Mike here from Watch It Paint It, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use insulation foam to make some super quick terrain for your tabletop. The insulation I'm going to be using is this Pink Panther dense foam board. It's pretty cheap to buy a sheet of this, and one sheet will go a long way. So using a box cutter, I'm going to cut a small section of this to use. And right now you're probably thinking, why the hell are you cutting it like that? What's wrong with you? Well, it's because the camera's in the way, so really it's your fault that I look stupid. Now for this piece of terrain, I want to have some trees attached. I didn't make these ones, they were on sale at a train set store, but I'll do a video in the future where I show you how to make your own, cheaper and better than these ones. So I'm just scoring the foam, as you can see, and then snapping it to the size I want. Then I'm slicing it down the middle since I don't need terrain this thick for this particular project. You want to be careful doing this. Depending on the direction you cut, it seems to resist the movement of the knife, and mine bounced out and cut my thumb, hence the band-aid. Next I'm going to bevel the edges and make some rough cuts along the sides of the foam. I want to give the appearance of rocky terrain and for everything to look suitably random. I'm also thinning this out a little more. The foam is very rigid and you can thin it down quite a bit. Okay, I think this is going to do the trick. After figuring out where I want the trees to sit, I'm just pressing them into the foam to make a mark, and then I'll just bore out those spots to insert the trunks later. Now I want to add a bit of texture to this hunk of foam so it looks a little more like dirt and less like a piece of insulation. For this I'll be using regular white PVA glue and a mix of tiny pebbles and sand. I'm adding a tiny amount of water to the glue so it flattens out a little more on the foam, but I want this to be fairly thick so that nothing moves around once it's on the base. So here I'm just spreading the glue around in random spots, and then I'm dumping my mix on top. I'm going to give this an hour to dry and harden before moving on. The next thing I'm going to do is prime the entire base with a brush-on primer. I've heard that spray primers will dissolve this kind of foam, though I've never actually tested that before. If you have, let me know in the comments if that's true or not. I've watered this primer down just a little bit with water, and I'm dabbing it on with a thick, soft brush instead of brushing it on, just in case some of that gravel is still loose. Once that's dry, I'm dabbing on some watered down dark brown. This one is oak brown from Army Painter. If you wanted this to look like stone, however, you could just put on a dark wash and then dry brush it with a light gray after. I want mine to look more like it's covered in soil, and I also want it to match the battle mat that I'm using. Once again, I'm going to let that dry completely before I come in with a light brown. I'm using this color to dry brush the entire surface, trying my best to pick out the rocks and the edges and corners of the terrain. At this point, some of your pebbles are going to come loose, but don't worry, those are the weak and inferior pebbles. Any spots they leave behind, you can just cover up with the dark brown paint. Next I'm coming in with the trees, and these are just soft, spongy flock glued in layers over a frame. And like I said, I'll show you how to make your own in a future video. I only had a few hours to build all these bases, however, so I bought these trees, which you can see aren't exactly top-notch, but they will do the trick. The best way to stick these on is with a low-heat glue gun. I'm putting a good dab of the glue over the holes I made for the trunks and then jamming the trees in. Next I want a forest floor cover, but I don't want it too uniform looking. I like to mix a few kinds of flock together with slightly different colors and textures. I usually mix equal parts together in a small container or a shot glass and then give it a good shake. Okay, this time I've mixed my white PVA glue with a little more water than before. I don't want to make gobs on the surface. I'm making sure that I cover up the glue around the base of the trees and any spots that got missed with paint. Otherwise, this is going on pretty randomly. Once the glue is on, I'm dumping the flock all over the base and tapping off the excess. And that's it. Like I said, this was done in just a few hours. This was for a first session with a group of new players for Dungeons & Dragons, and I didn't want to look like a total noob DM. For the amount of work that was put in, I think it was totally worth it, and I hope you guys give it a try sometime. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you liked it, hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.